and then I'm gonna write some actual code with Conductor and maybe even merge it into the production code base.
All right, hello everybody. This is Isaac. We are here to hear from Charlie. Charlie was a hacker in residence at Replicate, where he built a bunch of stuff. He did quantitative finance at Point 72, and now he's been building AI tools at Melty. He's founded. I reached out to Charlie to do this, and it was pretty organic because I reached out to him because he makes a lot of tools that I personally use and like. Had things that I wanted and things that I liked about him and found them really useful. And I just know Charlie because he asked for feedback and I gave him feedback and then he fixed and made everything better. And it just kind of kept going that way. So it was great. He's built a tool that lets you do parallel agents really well. And I think this is really powerful because obviously AI agentic coding is getting more and more and more powerful over time, and there's a whole lot of things that I can do. I won't get into it too much because Charlie's gonna show all that. Go for it, Charlie.
Sweet, sweet. Thanks, Isaac, for having me. So I often with these courses, I get kind of bored if I'm just like watching and listening to someone talk. So I want to make this as interactive as possible. So my plan is to tell you a little bit about Conductor, then share my screen and have you all just like follow along on your own computers. And I can walk you through exactly how I use Conductor and answer any questions you have live. So feel free to ask in the chat or in the Zoom any questions you have at any point. I want this to feel very interactive. My first question before we start is uh, if there's a way for people to raise their hands, how many people here use Claude Code? Okay, I think we got okay, about half of the group has used Claude Code. My first recommendation before we start is to just if you don't have Claude Code installed, while I'm explaining how to download Conductor, you should just install it on your computer because it is the best productivity tool to come out in a long, long time. And Conductor is a app built on top of Claude Code that lets you run a bunch of Claude codes all in parallel, oversee their work as they're working, and then review their work and merge it into your code base. So I'm going to share my screen and just like walk you through exactly how I use Conductor every day. Um, and again, feel free to ask questions any point. As I walk you through it. So everyone should go to conductor.build uh, and click this download button. And that's going to be step number one. And uh, while that's happening, I will show you my live version of Conductor, which is here. I'll walk you through like what we're seeing right now, and then I'm gonna write some actual code with Conductor and maybe even merge it into the production code base because my coworkers are out on a walk right now, and I can do whatever I want. Um, so here in Conductor, on the left sidebar, we have what we call our workspaces, and these are different sessions of Claude Code doing its thing. In the middle, we have the chat, and then on the right, we have a sidebar that shows the changes Claude has made and an integrated terminal. So I'm going to create a new workspace, and I'm going to make an actual change to Conductor because we use Conductor to create Conductor every day. And something I've wanted for a while is different color themes. So right now, in Conductor, there's light mode and there's dark mode. But I think it would be fun to have more themes, just because themes are fun. So I'll say, can you add more themes to and then I'm going to tag the settings file. I think it would be fun to have. Does anyone have a suggestion of a theme we could add to Conductor?
How about a grass theme?
Okay, I love it. I think it'd be fun to have a grass theme. Okay, and then I'm going to press Command Enter. One thing actually we added yesterday is plan mode, which you can toggle by clicking this button. So I'm going to actually start things off in plan mode, press Command Enter. And now Claude is going to take a look at my request and look through the files in my code base and come up with a plan. Um, any questions so far? And has anyone had any trouble installing Conductor on their machine? I forgot to mention this, but in a month from now, whoever becomes the biggest Conductor power user, I'll mail one of these Conductor hats, which we just created. So that's some extra incentive to download the app and follow along.
Yeah, I want that hat. I'm gonna win
Yeah,
for sure. Okay.
good luck, good luck. Okay, so we can see live that Claude is reading a file. It's reading this settings file, and I can click into the tool. It's grepping around. It's say it realized that we probably need to adjust the theme provider, so it's taking a look at the theme provider, and it's giving me a plan. Um, Usually I would look at this plan like somewhat carefully, but because this is a live demo, I'm just gonna turn off plan mode and say, yep, that looks great. Okay. So now Claude is going to start implementing the plan. So far, everything you've seen is powered by Claude Code and is amazing, but it's not showing the coolest part of Conductor. Because the coolest part of Conductor is while Claude is working, instead of me just watching Claude do its thing, as fun as it is watching it call different tools and whatever, I'm going to create a new workspace. Um, what that means is that I actually created an entire fresh copy of my code base. It basically runs, you could think of it like running a Git clone. Under the hood, it's a Git work tree. But I have a fresh copy of my code base. And the reason this is important is because once I kick off Claude on another task, I don't want it interfering with the Claude that's working over here on the themes. I want it working on a
Is
fresh,
this
yeah.
so you said this using Claude Code. You got a question. Is this using like the Claude Code CLI app in the background?
So it's actually using the Claude Code SDK, which is a kind of a recent thing that Anthropic's put out like about a month ago. If you look up Cloud Code SDK, you should be able to find it. Um, it's as far as I understand, it's like a wrapper on the CLI. So the output is exactly like what you get from the CLI, but it's an SDK, so we can run the commands in TypeScript. Any other questions?
Nope, that's it.
Cool, cool. So like I mentioned, while Claude is working on this task, I can kick off another task. And so I'll say, what would be cool here? So you can see that like in this home tab just says home, but I think it might be cool to show like my Git username um, in this tab. So it could be like Charlie's home or like Isaac's home. So I'll say, uh, can you make it so the home button in the workspace sidebar includes my Git username? Like, I'm actually not going to give it any more detail. And then I'm going to use Sonnet for this just because it's a little faster. Okay, let's check
So
in. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
able to go to really specific files and tag. I know there's a workspace sidebar dot
Yes.
TypeScript. So I guess that indicates that there's a little bit more that you normally do than just like vibe coding and not having any idea what the code is doing. Like, how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It sort of depends on how much I personally know. So if I know exactly what file to change, then I'll try and give it as much like detailed context as possible. If I don't really know, then I'll just let Claude find what files it wants to change. Like I think in general, like the more specific you are, the better outputs you're going to get. Like if you treat Claude as like a fellow human engineer, you should write messages like the same way. So give it like as much detail as possible. But I do find that Claude is actually like very good at figuring out what it needs to figure out. And so while these two are working, um, this one is going quite slow. So I'm just going to kick off another one. Say, because we might as well, I'll just say, can you add a grass theme to my themes? Um, and then I'll also just tag settings. You'll also notice when I bring up the at symbol, I can tag agents if I want. I can also press slash and run the Claude slash commands. Um, uh, and also, another thing I forgot to mention is that Claude will automatically, or Conductor in this case, is actually naming the branch every time you give it a new workspace. Um, While Claude is working here, something that is really helpful about Conductor is you can see in the sidebar like what Claude is working on. So this is what I mean when like in Conductor you can oversee Claude's work. You can see it's updating the workspace sidebar right now, and you can also see that I have some unread messages. So I can click here and I can watch as it works. And then let's see what's going on. This themes one is not giving me any output, which is a little strange, but we'll see if that's an issue or if it's just silently doing its work. Um, let's check back in here. You can see as it makes changes, we have this file pane. And this is, you could think of this as like the GitHub PR review panel. Um, before I merge in any code, I want to make sure that Claude has done the right thing. And so I can click on this file and it brings up our Git diff review panel, and I can look through things and make sure that like Claude is on the right track. Um, I can also view the Git diff side by side if you prefer that. Something coming to Conductor that I think will be really awesome is inline edits or inline comments. So I could like highlight this and say, are you sure you need to import the Git username here? I think there's a different way to do this, and then add that to the chat. Um,
So when you look at this, you see this diff, you see what Claude Code did. Ideally, it does everything perfect, and you just merge it and you're
yeah.
done. Like when it doesn't do what you want, or you want things like
Yes.
how do
I'm very
you
glad you asked. Yeah. Yes. So this is like the next step in my workflow because no one should really should fully trust Claude 100%. As much as I say Claude Code is incredible, you should always test what it does. Like you should never just merge the changes because they look right. And so the next step in the Conductor workflow is the testing phase. And so that's what I'm going to use this integrated terminal for. I'm going to run pnpm run dev, and that's going to run a new instance of the entire desktop app inside this workspace. And gets like this is some new concepts because this is like a new part of an of your development workflow. So feel free to ask questions as I go. But you'll notice that each workspace has a city name. In this case, Raleigh. And so Raleigh is a directory on my system that has all the code changes that Conductor just made. And it's going to come in handy in a second once the app builds. Um,
so is this so I guess each of these is basically like a branch. And when you're running
yeah.
this, you're building your app and then you'll test the app and you're testing the
Yes,
actual branch with the changes before
exactly.
you create a PR. Okay.
Exactly. So we are in the branch like at GitHub at Git username home, inside the workspace Raleigh. Um, and so now we can see I just built ran the local version of the app in the terminal, and I can click in and you can see that this is the instance Raleigh. So this is a version of my app running inside this workspace. And I know it's a little like it's a lot of new concepts. And I think this is like the trickiest part of Conductor is like it is understanding the testing part of the workflow. So again, like tell me if I'm going too fast or feel free to ask questions. But I'm running this instance of the Conductor app in the Raleigh workspace, and I can test it out here. And I actually just closed the app by accident. Um, so let me bring it back up again. Um, you might remember that the point of this workspace was to try adding our username to the home button, and you can see that it actually did a good job. It actually did like exactly what we asked it for. Usually I would like click around a lot more and like make sure everything works. And maybe actually we don't want these parentheses. So I'll just say This looks great, except can you remove the parentheses? And I'll press enter. Also, a fun thing that I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear on Zoom, but you can add sound effects for when Claude is finished. So let's see if we can hear that once it finishes. And let's check in on the themes. Okay, so it looks like it added 1,000 lines of code to this file. So this is going to be quite a big one to review. And then uh, in this workspace, which also was adding a grass theme, it had a much smaller diff. You can see the lines change in the left sidebar, or you can see it in the top right. Um,
Yeah, I think I saw that add more themes. You told it to add grass, and I think it was like I'll add grass and ocean. I think there was like four of them that it
that's
wanted to add.
probably why it's doing like a crazy.
Yeah,
Oh
there
yeah,
it
you're
was
right.
like
Okay, that's a great point. Yeah, this is why I should. This is why it's helpful to review Claude's work. It likes being verbose. Um, okay, so now I showed you before testing the Raleigh instance, which actually let's check. Oh, okay, it did a good job. It removed the parentheses. Um, Although it still actually is a little weird to me that it says home. So I'm gonna say remove home. It can just be my name, and this should be a relatively quick change. Um, let's just watch this change live.
so it feels like this like work tree, workspace, whatever thing is kind of what makes this
Yeah.
kind of work because
Yes.
now you don't have otherwise like all your agents would be like overwriting each other and then like files would be changed underneath and
Exactly,
all that.
exactly. That's the core thing is that like Git worktrees are actually really powerful, but they're a huge pain to manage yourself manually. And so Conductor just makes it really easy. Like it's just a UI. You don't have to think about worktrees under the hood. You just go to a different workspace and the clouds won't interfere with each other.
And how
Okay.
much oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to just confirm that this sidebar looks like what we want it to look like. It just has our name. And before you ask the next question, I'm going to do the next and final step, or second penultimate step in our workflow, which is now that I've tested the changes and they look good to me. I'm just going to close this instance. I'm going to hit this create PR button. And let what that's going to do is it's going to create a PR and then I can merge it into my code base. But what were you going to ask, Isaac?
Oh, well, so these changes are isolated, but they're happening on the same code base. Like I could
Yes,
imagine that the add more themes and the add grass theme could
yes,
edit similar files. So like
totally.
how does that merging
Yes,
process
yes.
work?
So my trick for that is slash resolve merge conflicts. And what that is doing is it's a slash command, which under the hood, exp and if you go to settings and then slash commands, you can edit your slash commands. Under the hood, that's running this prompt: resolve merge conflicts against the arguments branch, identify files with merge conflicts, analyze them, provide a summary of resolution, blah blah blah. And so it is inevitable that sometimes you do have merge conflicts, and I find that Claude is like really good at resolving them. Because yeah, you're exactly right. Like in this case, especially, like we have two different workspaces working on adding themes, so they're probably going to start conflicting. Um, uh, I also wanted to show you part of the workflow that uh, is pretty helpful. You mentioned that each workspace uh, is actual file changes like on your computer. Um, uh, Sometimes you still need to go in the old world and you need to edit code by hand. So in the top right, we have a special open button, and you can choose to open this specific workspace in either your Finder or it looks for IDEs you have on your machine, or I can just press Command O. And so I press Command O, and you can see I'm in a directory called Washington, which is a little bit strange if you're not used to the conductor way, but you can see here the add grass theme is in the Washington workspace. And so that's how I can like orient myself, especially if like I have a few open. Like if I open this Yokohama one as well, um, and I forget like which code I'm editing, I can see in Conductor the city name. And so you can see if I look in the Git panel in Washington, there's two changes that Claude has made. And if I want to do things the old way, at any point I can just like edit the code by hand, like a old school person. Um, and then the changes will also be added to this particular workspace. Um, the way I like to think about this is like there are still some tasks where it's easier to just edit the code by hand. Like for example, editing Tailwind class names. Sometimes you just rather like edit it in your code editor, like cursor, uh, than asking Claude to do it. But so
Never
that's why
feel
we
that way with Tailwind personally, but
have. Yeah, yeah. That
but
maybe
for
not
other
with
things, yes.
Tailwind. Yeah, yeah. Um, uh, Also, let's test out the theme, the grass theme, because I think it'll be fun. This is the humongous one where it added like a ton of themes. I'm curious what they look like. Um,
Someone commented an Excalibur drawing or mermaid diagram for this would be useful.
hmm.
Yeah, I think that could be cool. Another thing, we
Yeah,
actually recently had another free talk on how to like vibe code a Remotion like video animation. So if anyone wants to check that out and vibe code how this all works, that'd be cool.
that'd be super cool. Yeah. Okay, let's test it out. So this is a fresh instance of Conductor in the Yokohama workspace. And let's go to settings. And we have this theme button. Grass. Okay. That's kind of like a nice, like subtle green.
Yeah.
Let's try ocean. Okay, that's nice, like nice blue. Sunset. Okay. It's like kind of peachy. Midnight. Okay. I'll leave it on grass because that was the one you chose. So again, like we can review the changes that Conductor has made within Conductor, or because Conductor is linked to your GitHub, I can just click this View PR button, and it's going to open all the changes that Conductor has made. If I want to send this to my teammates to validate, then I can do that. Then once I choose to merge our changes, so this is now the branch where I added the Git username to home button. Um, let's just say I'll just merge it into production because again, my teammates are out. Um, Once I merge, we'll see back in Conductor after a few seconds, this View PR button changed to Archive Workspace. And so Conductor knows that the branch has now been merged, and we can safely archive the workspace by just clicking this button. And the workspace is going to now like tear down and remove from the sidebar. And that concludes the life cycle of the Conductor dev cycle. Um, any questions? Any questions about that?
Getting some heart emojis.
Mhm. Sweet. Um, while I have you here, I guess I could show something that I forgot to mention because I already have my repos added is you can click in the bottom left, add repository, and that's how you add your repositories to Conductor. Um, and probably the most confusing part of Conductor that I'm happy to walk anyone through, and I want to just like touch on briefly, is what we call the setup script. And so within each repository, you can see that there's this section called setup script. Um, and this is the script that runs every time I hit new workspace. Um,
And that's one setup script per GitHub repository.
exactly. So the Conductor API setup script looks different than the Conductor desktop app setup script, which looks different than uh, this Vercel like chat demo setup script. But every time I make a new workspace, it is going to run the setup script. And the reason that this is important to understand is because each new workspace only copies the files tracked in Git. So for example, like if you have a .env file to run your repository, that won't automatically be added to each new workspace. if you have node modules that you need to install, that won't automatically be added to each workspace. So the way to get around that problem is you can edit a setup script, and this is what the default one looks like. And the setup script by default copies over a .n file that you have in your local like parent repository, and then runs pnpm install. And so every time I click new workspace, you can see that for a little bit, there's like this setting up state. And that's because in the background, it's copying over your end file and then running pnpm install. So then when I say pnpm run dev, it doesn't, it won't fail because the node modules are all installed.
Is this only for GitHub repos or does it work with GitLab or other?
Uh, that actually, if you click clone from URL, it should work with any Git URL. Um, I believe it should work with, so that I believe then it should work with Bitbucket or GitLab. But I'm not actually 100% on that. If someone wants to try it and then tell me that doesn't work, let me know. You can also click this send feedback button. And like let me know if you want to send me feedback later. We read every single one of these messages, and it's super helpful for us. Um,
Is there is there an ETA for Windows WSL support?
Great question. So this app is built in Towery, which Towery.app, which I'm a big fan of, which is technically cross-platform. So theoretically, we should be able to build it for Linux and Windows. Um, but we haven't gotten around to it yet. Hopefully within a couple months, but who knows? I don't want to be on the record for that. I would love to get it working for Windows and Linux. Windows especially is very requested. If you want to on the landing page, if you want to click the join Windows waitlist, then we can get you an early version once we get a build going.
And then one more question is Claude Code is really good at coding, but is there a plan to add other models to Conductor as well?
Yeah, great question. Um, yes, there are. The reason we don't have other models yet is because Claude Code is still the best. Um, and we haven't been like blown away by any of the other tools yet. I think regardless, it would be nice to have other options, but so it's definitely on the roadmap, but Claude Code is still the king right now.
All right. Here's one that maybe you'll get excited about. Tell us more about Elixir Conductor API app you're building, the web front end.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm personally a huge fan of Elixir and Phoenix Live View. The web app is actually very, very bare bones. It doesn't do much. It lets you manage your GitHub integration, and it uses a deep link to launch Conductor. Um, uh, I'm a huge Phoenix Live View fan, so I would love to like continue to build out the this web app, but right now it doesn't do too much. In the future, it probably will proxy some requests and do some fancier things, but uh, yeah, it's just a simple, so bare bones Phoenix Live View app by now. But I was very insistent that we use Phoenix Live View because I'm a huge Elixir fan.
So it looks like there's still some more roadmap questions coming in. Should I just kind of keep asking
Sweet.
those,
Yeah,
or do you
yeah,
want to do
yeah.
something else? Okay.
No, no, it sounds good to
Um,
me.
are there any plans on the roadmap to work across multiple repos, like implementing a
Yeah,
feature across a backend and an
definitely.
iOS repo?
Definitely. I personally really want this because as you can see, we have two repos that link together, Conductor and Conductor API. Um, uh, Actually, this morning I'm working on integrating linear into Conductor, and it involves, you can see there's linear OAuth integration here, and then there's link linear integration in the front end. So yeah, we definitely want to make that happen. Uh, we've got some things to figure out to make it seamless, but yeah, I personally really want it, so hopefully it will happen soon.
What would the linear integration be?
Great question. Maybe I could just like show you a preview of it. Okay, let's just run. This is the dev version of Conductor that I'll just run. Okay, I realize I don't actually need a cursor for this. I'll show you here. The linear integration means every time I create a new workspace, I get a chance to name it. So I could name it, whoops, I'll close that. I could name it Hello Isaac, or I could choose a linear issue. And let's say I choose this one. These are actual linear issues that we have in our linear. And then we get this nice like little linear attachment with information about that linear issue. And then I could just say like fix this, and Claude has all the context it needs.
All right, that's all the questions we've got for now. Is
Sweet.
there anything else you want to cover, or should we
No,
call it?
that's good to me. Once again, whoever is the biggest conductor power user, I will send you this hat. Seems like Isaac is a front runner right now, but uh, we can
Are
check
you
back
guys
in.
hiring? There's a question.
Um, yeah, send me an email, charlie@melty.sh.
And write a blog post on this pretty soon.
Sweet. Thanks for hosting, and thanks everyone for following along.
All right, thank you so much. Bye.
Talk to you later.